Hello, I'm David Kerr, Professor of Cancer Medicine at the University of Oxford. As many of you know, I'm a past president of the European Society of Medical Oncology, and one of our greatest leaders, one of a great friend of mine, Professor Heine Hansen, when he was president of ESMO, made a very particular drive to bring in our colleagues from Eastern Europe, as then was. So we maintain very strong links with our colleagues along that whole Eastern European crescent. There are two interesting articles, an article and some correspondence recently in the Lancet Oncology about the burden of cancer in Ukrainian refugees and the pressure that that's putting on the healthcare systems from those Eastern European countries who have been incredibly welcoming of those Ukrainian refugees pushed out by this extraordinary war pursued by Vladimir Putin. Jane Dudowska and colleagues at the National Polish Cancer Registry have estimated, I think fairly, that over the coming years, the prevalent burden of cancer from Ukrainian refugees will amount to between 55,000 individuals, with annually 3,300 new cases coming to Poland every year. These are already somewhat stretched healthcare systems, so you imagine that magnitude of effect will have potential knock-on effects from the delivery of cancer care for the citizens of Poland, as well as using already limited resources to meet this new influx of cancer patients. An old friend of mine, Krzysztof Zielinski, has again written in Lancet Oncology about some work that his Central European Cooperative Oncology Group have done, in which they surveyed some of their members in the East who have been involved in the front line of care, if I could use that term. And what they find is that patients coming from Ukraine come often with well-documented disease portfolio, so pathology results, radiology, so a very useful packet of information on which to build care. The majority of members of the cooperative group are looking after Ukrainian patients. This doesn't surprise us, given that sense of community, of fraternity, of sorority that we have between our colleagues in East and West, but also their commitment to caring for any cancer patients that come upon their way. It's a burden, though, and two things I wanted to say. One was to pay homage and to say thank you for our colleagues in the East who have taken on this burden of care and who are doing it honourably and who are doing it to the very best of their ability. But resources are stretched. And I think the second point, if we in the West are looking to provide support for Ukrainian cancer refugees, as we want to do, then working with groups like the Central European Cooperative Oncology Group could provide a focus of effort for fundraising, for delivery of drugs, for if any of us wanted to volunteer to provide additional support and so on. It's possible that Krzysztof Zielinski and colleagues could help to provide that network of already existing care and perhaps act in a way as traffic policemen to direct where our support, whether it's financial, whether it's drugs, whether it's human volunteers, but to direct that support to those areas where it was most needed. I think it's a burden that's going to be with us for some time. The war has reached not stalemate, because perhaps not stalemate, but it looks as if it's going to be prolonged and bitter, with increasing destruction of Ukrainian infrastructure, something that isn't going to go away in the immediate short term. And although a lot of the work that I've done in the past, thinking about refugees from cancer, has been in the Middle East, the work from Syria, from Iraq, from Erbil, and so on, isn't it extraordinary that in this age we're having this discussion about what was once a stable European state and the necessity for us to provide as much truly emergency support as we can. So 1,000 thank yous to our colleagues in the East, And for those of you who are watching and listening, please think if there's anything that you might do to help contribute to this. We'd be very grateful for your thoughts and ongoing support. Thanks for listening, as always. Very grateful for any comments that you might have. For the time being, the escapers, over and out, and thank you.